last week, we raised over $8,000. I personally streamed a 50-hour Mega Man marathon to fundraise money for a very special arcade machine. You see, back in 2005, Mega Man Battle Network, or Rockman EXE as the series is known in Japan, had very cool collectibles called Link Battle Chips that were all based off the Battle Network 6 library. Now, if you owned a Beast Link Gate, you could use this real-life battle chip to send data into your Japanese cartridge of BN6, but the rabbit hole gets a lot deeper because there are also Link Navi data chips like you can see in this Proto Man right here. It's a little bit thicker because it's got a battery on the inside. You could level up, say, this Proto Man by using your Link PET right here, and then you could send that data back to your Battle Network 6 where he'd be a lot stronger as you use him instead of Mega Man. But if you were lucky enough to live in Japan at the height of the series' popularity, you may have been able to use the Rockman EXE Battle Chip Stadium arcade machine. This is an extremely rare machine that used these real-life battle chips to do battle against real-life people or CPUs, and it would often spit out real-life battle chips as well for prizes. It is extraordinarily cool. I feel like it's almost every single Battle Network fan's dream to finally see and play it in real life, and unfortunately, we're not really able to. This is extraordinarily rare. So many people have visited Japan in recent years trying to get more information on this machine because we essentially have none. True, we know what program advances are in the game thanks to strategy guides, and we do have some very shoddy YouTube videos that show off a little bit of the gameplay, but think about it. We have no assets, we have no sound files, we have no music, we have no real way to play the game, let alone preserve and archive it for future generations until now. The reason why we had that fundraiser is because a very select and special group of fans were able to convince a private collector who lives in Europe that we can pull off a data dump. When I learned about this, I knew that I had to fundraise and get involved because this is a massive historic milestone for the Battle Network community. So why am I even making this video? Well, first of all, I have to thank you, the fans. Thank you so much for turning up to our stream, for donating so much money. It made me feel proud to offer up my own collectibles to so many people as prizes as a thank you to you for doing what you're doing. And I want you to realize this is a very rare and special thing. Not every fandom can casually raise $8,000 for a preservation project. Battle Network fans are built different. We know how amazing and unique this franchise is, and I have to thank you for doing your part in that. But even more important than saying thank you, this video is to inform the community of what is going on, to bring clarity on how we plan on spending the money, and frankly, to keep us accountable. Raising $8,000 is very cool, and it's also very stressful. That is literally a symbol of the community itself and its belief in this project. It is so important for me as a content creator and a person to make sure that every single person is well aware of how we're spending the money and how we are budgeting things. After all, the main goal of this fundraiser was to send me and another kind individual named Tofu out to Europe to finally get this project going. Now, Tofu is a brilliant programmer / engineer. He will be in charge of all the data dumping while I'm there filming it and making a documentary style video on this historic milestone moment. Now, if you're wondering to yourself what sorts of challenges we might be facing, well, I've got a post right here that I'm going to be reading verbatim. The main process is to dump the two main ROM chips. These hold the BIOS and rudimentary game data, or full game data in simpler terms, such as metal operation, which will need some desoldering. After that, we need to carefully dump the compact flash card with the software we were provided. We have to disable the write function on the port on which the CF reader is hooked up, otherwise the compact flash will be overwritten by default. To my knowledge, sound emulation is not integrated as it seems to be handled by a daughter board. Tofu will also document everything he can about the two arcade machines, meaning identifying chips and so on. Oh, and not to mention that Tofu wants to see if he can get metal operation operational again. Humidity damage should be relatively easy to fix and shouldn't have affected the integrity of the ROM data. Again, Tofu will be able to describe it a bit more thorough. So I understood basically nothing that I just said, but the important takeaways are this. The Rockman EXE Metal Operation arcade machine is also owned by this collector, and even though there is water and humidity damage, it does seem as though it's possible that we can do a data dump of that as well and get that machine archived too. And it's also important to note that there are some weird kinks when it comes to sound emulation with these arcade machines. It is so nice that we have the budget that we have so that we can work through these things and figure out the perfect solutions for them. I cannot thank you enough, and once again, I plan on being so transparent with how we are spending every single drop of money. So what happens when we end this data dump successfully and we have leftover money? Well, that's a great problem to have, and I think that as fans of Battle Network, the number one thing that we can support is the mobile game preservation. You may or may not know this, but there are two exclusive games to mobile phones in Japan called Rockman EXE Phantom of Network and Rockman EXE Legend of Network. These are notorious to find because they're on straight up flip phones. Can you even imagine the hassle that it would take to find a flip phone that contains the data of these games that are no longer sold ever again and actually preserve them and archive them in a data form? Well, thankfully, RockmanCosmo, our good friend, is on that job. He is working really hard to preserve these games, and I think that that is absolutely worth our time and support. And rather selfishly, I have always had a pet project that I have wanted to bring to YouTube. So we are pretty much all familiar with the manga for Mega Man Battle Network, or NT Warrior, and I think that this story is primed for a motion comic on YouTube. I'm talking about colorizing it, I'm talking about adding voices, adding sound effects and motions, maybe adding some music, and even doing a bit of a retranslation to make this the definitive version of the Rockman manga. It is such an amazing story, and I would say that probably 5% of fans have fully read it to completion. I think that bringing it to YouTube in a fun and exciting way is a great way to share this amazing resource with so many people. Like I said, a little bit selfishly, but whatever, we'll get to there later. Look, the long story short is this: we accomplished something amazing together as a community in raising such a large sum of money for such an amazing and worthy cause. I cannot wait to take our first steps in making this project a reality. It will probably take place in late November or early December, and of course, if you want to stay in the loop with all of the project updates in terms of how we're spending our money and our timeline and the challenges that we are facing, you can currently do so best on Discord, but I'm working really hard on making Twitter more of a thing. In fact, I've got a lot of social media that I've been really neglecting. This has been such an amazing journey, getting to learn about so many more of our fellow Mega Man Battle Network fans. I would absolutely love it if you supported us on our various social networks, and especially here on YouTube, because let me tell you, that documentary that we're going to film in Europe about this is going to be something you do not want to miss. As always, thank you so much for all of your support. I cannot wait for these next steps, and I'll catch you later, Scouts.